So continuing on the topic of how to find a good quality sofa, you really want to dig into how the frame of your sofa is constructed. You really are going to want to prioritize a frame that's made from actual lumber as opposed to plywood or OSB or whatever. OSB is oriented strand board. It's like a cheaper grade of kind of a plywood type engineered wood. Why do you care about this? All right, a couple reasons. First of all, if you're concerned at all about the materials that are going into your home, plywood and OSB have formaldehyde in them that's used in the manufacturing process of them. They have a lot of glue in them. So if you're concerned about formaldehyde exposure to your family, skip a plywood frame, and that's going to be probably the biggest thing you can do to protect against that in buying upholstery. If you are concerned about durability, the durability of a lumber frame, a well-built lumber frame, is going to be better in almost every circumstance than a plywood frame. You can find good plywood frames. And actually, if you look at a lot of like mid-century modern furniture, it can only be constructed using plywood frames, which is why there's some limitations on what we can even build. We'd love to build certain designs, but it is impossible to do without the thin lines that you get with plywood. So it's just off our list. So yeah, like if you go to a high quality manufacturer, like something that Herman Miller would build, something that the Charles and Ray Eames would have designed, and it's using beautiful bent plywood, like yeah, that's great stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fully upholstered sofas and chairs. Those should be built with lumber because it makes for a sturdier construction. It's going to last longer. Plywood has issues with strength over long spans, which is why you will often find on low-end furniture a middle leg stuck, kind of hidden in the center of the sofa. That's because it can't hold that much weight. Our frames, because they're built out of actual lumber, can hold way more weight over a much longer span without structural issues. This also means that it's furniture that's going to survive moves. It's going to survive being shifted around your living room. It's going to survive being, moved from home to home over the years. So again, from a durability and longevity perspective, lumber will be superior. Now, there's a lot of different types of frames out there, and there's a lot of different types of materials that can be used in a lumber frame, different species of wood. We use poplar. Now, traditionally, you'll see a lot of frames that were made from oak, and you still see it occasionally on really high-end furniture. Most of us who are doing quality furniture have transitioned away from that because the availability of oak is just not what it was. Poplar offers a lot of the same benefits. It also offers excellent fastener adhesion, which is important for kind of, strong joints. When you build a lumber frame, you're going to want to do a few things. You're going to want mortise and tenon joinery, which is, you've seen it before. It's basically where things are kind of like puzzle pieces are kind of socketed together. And then we'll do things like blocking in corners. Blocking is when you have a, kind of a right angle, you have a diagonal piece that basically strengthens the rigidity of that corner by holding things so that it basically cannot go out or in. It's important. If you're going to be lifting up a sofa from a corner, you don't want that whole thing to be flexing. Things like blocking help protect against that. We use, low or no VOC adhesives in the construction of our frames. I think that's a thing that you would be wanting to ask for as well. I think that goes a long way to building a durable piece of furniture. There are a lot of companies that lie their butts off about how they build their frames. There's a lot of companies that will say things, well, our frames are built with kiln-dried wood. I'm like, well, big deal. Wood is kiln-dried. Like, that's not, it sounds fancy, but so what? I mean, unless you're building with wood that's intended to be used for like a fence, like it's gonna be kiln-dried. The other thing that you hear a lot is, well, we have hardwood frames. Like, yeah, but you can technically get plywood that's made from hardwood. So that's a bit of a weasel word, a way for them to kind of get around the fact that you're building plywood. We know a number of manufacturers that are pulling that shenanigan. I think it's BS. I think it's dishonest. You should be able to ask a manufacturer to provide you with a photo of a frame. If they don't, it's plywood or OSB. By the way, never buy an OSB. Like, that's junk. You should not be spending any money on a frame made out of OSB. Plywood comes in a lot of grades. What we found is there are a lot of companies that previously used like pretty high quality plywood to get at least a relatively strong frame, and that's no longer what they're offering. So really do your homework. I would be very hesitant to spend any significant amount of money on a sofa made from a plywood frame. Ask them to send you a photo. If they won't, they're full of it. If they do send you a frame and you can't tell if it's plywood or lumber, send it to me. I'll be happy to tell you real quick, but it should be pretty obvious. Plywood, you know what plywood looks like. It's sheets of stuff. It's cut on a CNC router. It's popular with manufacturers because they can run it through a computer and have them cut a whole bunch of frames really accurately and quickly. It doesn't require a lot of talent or skill, but lumber frames are way harder to build, but you get a lot of benefit. And again, this is not what's easiest and best for the manufacturer. This is about what's easiest and best for you and your family.